Good evening. I'm going to call the combined meetings of the Washington County Services Subcommittee and the Washington County Finance and Budget Committee to order for this evening. Up tonight, Justice Pond has agreed to do us the honor of prayer and pledge. Justice Pond?
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this day that you have made, that we've had to enjoy, and we just thank you for it and praise your holy name. We pray that this evening what we say and what we do here would mind you, and that it would be in our words and deeds, choices would be in some way be pleasing to you, and that it would serve the county best that way. All this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Justice Pond. Up next is the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any motions with regard to the agenda? Justice Coger?
Thank you very much, Judge. Yes, I have two items, two ordinances I'd like to add to the agenda. I'd like to take them one at a time. They're separate ordinances. I furnished copies to everyone. The first one is an ordinance which I drafted, an ordinance to repeal Washington County Ordinance 2022-123. Ordinance 2022-123 was passed in December of last year and appropriated $8.8 million of American Rescue Plan Act money to expand the Washington County Detention Center, including the COVID mitigation unit. In January of last year, the federal government handed down the final ARPA rules and regulations on allowable uses of ARPA money.
Justice Coger, we can't debate the ordinance until it's on the agenda. So you have a motion for two. Would you like to identify those two specifically again? I heard you say 2022-123.
But I need to explain why I'm adding them, Judge.
No, the quorum courts hadn't been delivered the copies of these. We can't debate an ordinance unless it's on the agenda.
Yeah,
So
and
do you wanna-
refused to put it on the agenda, Judge. Or
That's correct. And the quorum court's about to adopt the agenda. So you have two ordinances here that you've identified.
Yes,
You want them added. You said you wanted them taken up separately? You want
Yes.
separate votes?
yes,
So we have a motion to add these two ordinances that you passed out?
yes.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second. I have a second by Rio Stafford. All those in favor? I have a motion to add these two. You're right, let's take them up separately. Do you have a preference on which one we take up?
I would like to do the one I just started speaking on first, to repeal ordinance 2022-123, please.
To repeal ordinance 2022-123, I have a motion to add the ordinance to repeal county ordinance number 2022-123 by Justice Coger, a second by Justice Rio Stafford. All those in favor? Those
Judge-
opposed?
Judge, I request a roll call vote on that, please.
Ms. Mason, will you please call a roll? This is whether or not to add the ordinance to repeal county ordinance number 2022-123.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
No, ma'am.
That motion fails.
Okay. Judge, the next ordinance which I request to be added to the agenda tonight is an ordinance I drafted entitled, "An Ordinance to Repeal Washington County Ordinance Number 2022-124." 2022-124 was passed in December of last year and appropriated $10 million of American Rescue Plan money to be used to construct an expansion and enlarge the Washington County Detention Center, including the COVID mitigation unit. There's been zero public discussion as to what impact this would have on the county.
Just a second, I have a point of order. Justice Ecke?
With all due respect, Judge, it's just supposed to be added to the agenda. It's either yes or no, not an explanation of what is being. So it's just to be read, the title, and that's it. So that's my point of order. Thank
Great.
you.
I tend to agree, Justice Coger.
I wish to appeal your order, Judge.
Okay. So we have to take a vote on that. We'll make it a roll call vote. Justice Ecke said she would like these ordinances introduced by title. I uphold that.
May I respond to Judge?
No,
Justice
we're going to
Ecke?
take a vote. Ms. Mason, will you please call a roll on whether or not to overrule or sustain my ruling? A yes vote will uphold my ruling. A no vote will reverse my ruling.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Yes. No.
Abstain. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
The ruling of the chair is upheld. Justice Coger, do you have a motion with regard to the ordinance to repeal number 2022-124?
I would like to add that my ordinance to repeal Washington County Ordinance 2022-124. I would like to add that to the agenda tonight, please.
I have a motion to add an ordinance to repeal Washington County Ordinance number 2022-124. Do I have a second?
Second.
I believe that was that Justice Hires? Okay, I have a second by Justice Hires. Ms. Mason, will you please call a roll? This is a vote to add an ordinance to repeal Washington County Ordinance number 2022-124.
No, ma'am.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No way. No, ma'am.
Motion fails. Motion to adopt the agenda? I have a motion to adopt the agenda by Justice Lemming, a second by Justice Ricker. All those in favor? Those opposed? The agenda has been adopted. With that, we'll move into our monthly reports. First up is the Juvenile Detention Report. Director Tinsley. Good evening, sir.
For the month of November, we had 21 intakes, with the average length of stay being 7 days. The average daily population for November was 12.80. The highest number of intakes were obstruction of government operations, misdemeanor at 4. Of the 21 intakes from Washington and Madison County, 13 were from Division 3 and 8 were from Division 8. There were 4 transports for the month of November. Are there any questions that I may address at this time?
Questions for Director Tinsley? Justice Coger?
Thank you, Judge. I guess my question, and I've asked it before, is are you okay on the staffing of the detention center right now, in juvenile detention center?
Yes, Justice Coger. As a matter of fact, we just hired 4 more staff, 2 female, 2 male, which brings our total to 18. So we're one shy of being fully staffed. I'm excited about 2024 moving forward and getting going, and I'm really excited for our team moving forward. Yes, ma'am.
Additional questions for Director Tinsley? Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Judge.
you
Yes,
and all your
sir.
hard work. Next up's the Sheriff's Office report. Sheriff Cantrell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our sheriff's office report's included in your packet. I don't know what, 8 or what, 5, section 5. Calls for service is still up a little bit this month. We saw a little increase last month, but we've not had any reason that we know of for that to be increased, except the population's growing and more people living within Washington County. Detention intakes are up. You can see that number's up over the prior year. We'll exceed 10,000 this year on our detention intakes at the county jail. The state prison has opened up some beds. They've found some beds down there. They were able to reallocate or to open up some that had been shuttered, and so they've been able to take 101 of our detainees this past month, to prison, which is a good thing for us. So our daily average high count's still 780, still 140 average daily population on the Department of Corrections, but currently we have 100, or have 99 currently, so we are doing better with that. Pre-trial numbers are down from a year ago, so I think the courts are starting to be able to process more people, and so that's a good thing for us. Still have COVID in the jail. We have 6 positive COVID cases today, resulting in 32 people being quarantined. We've got those 6 people housed in a temporary holding cell that's at the back of the courtroom that's really designed just to house people while they're in court, but because of our space issues that we have, that we just don't have the place to put them, so we're actually using that for a quarantine cell for the 6 positive cases. All the positive cases this week are females, but that fluctuates from week to week and day to day. So I'll be happy to I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone might ask.
Questions for Sheriff Cantrell? Justice Coger?
Thank you, Judge. Sheriff, how's the staffing at the jail and the detention and the enforcement departments?
Enforcement department is down 8 deputies, and the detention side is down 32 deputies.
Okay, and if you said this, I missed it. What is the count for today in the jail, the head count? Or yesterday even?
The high count for today is 738, so.
Okay. Okay, and you may have said this, but again, I didn't write it down. And how many do we have waiting right now to go to the state prison?
99.
99, okay. Okay, thank you.
Additional questions for Sheriff Cantrell? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you. Next up is the Treasurer's Report. Treasurer Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everybody. This on?
You're ready.
Okay. 6.1. Treasurer Financial Summary. November is one of our better months due to the October tax settlement we get from the collector. If you look at that top line in general, we received 8.1 million and expended 4.3, ended the month at 19.6. Road also was revenues over expenditures. Jail had expenditures coming in over revenues, but everybody has at this point, a healthy balance. If you look down to 6011 interest, I am happy to say that the Treasurer's Office has distributed 3.3 million in interest this year. 1.4 of that went to County General, and that's compared to last year. We had 580,000 total. So higher interest rates, of course, have been very helpful for us, but not for a lot of people. So, but we began the month with almost 104 million in the bank and ended with almost 119 million. 6.2, the 1 cent sales tax. We finally broke our little trend of our downward trend. We were up this month 2.3%, brought in 889,000, and for the year that's 6.16% over last year. 6.3, the quarter cent jail tax. Same percentages, 1.3 million came in, and for the year that's 850,000 more than the same period last year. 6.4, as I was talking about earlier, the collector brought in was almost 6.9 million. That's compared to just over 6 million in 2022. And we have one more, our final tax settlement that'll be in next week or two, and that should push us over the projection I made for this year. Finally, 6.5, ARPA report. It's gotten so big I had to make it 2 pages now. With the Emergency Operations Center ordinance last month, we now have 46.4 million obligated, and that is the full amount. We've expended almost 32 million from that fund. We have 14.7 left of the balance at the end of November. And that's all I have.
Questions for Treasurer Hill? I don't see any. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Employees Insurance Report, Mr. Angel.
Good evening. I apologize for my voice. I'm fighting off a sinus infection. I assure you I'm not contagious. I took a bunch of COVID tests, no fever. So we continue to have high expenditure months, but if you'll look at the color copy here, I forget the number, I apologize. It's starting to level off a little bit, which is kind of what we wanted to see. You'll see our total costs were at $530,000 compared to last year's at $527,000. So we were within $3,000 of the total cost month over month, year over year, which is really what we were looking for. If you look at the previous 5 months, we were nowhere near. It was well over. So hopefully we're starting to get past that. As we've discussed the last couple of months, we've had several large claimants, cancer diagnosis, things like that. Those are expensive treatments to go through. They're cyclical, seems like, in groups of this size. We're going to have some of it. The one thing we cannot control is claims. People are going to get sick, unfortunately. It's a part of life, but that is why we have insurance and put those things out there. What we can control is our fixed cost. And if I could take your attention here to the reinsurance cost and the Blue Cross and Blue Shield admin fees, that's our total fixed cost for the year. And you look at that, and it's approximately $673,000. I didn't bring my glasses, I apologize. If you look at our RX rebates, that's approximately $525,000. So if we look at that, the contract we've negotiated with our pharmacy benefit manager is paying for approximately 78% of our fixed cost. Fixed cost on a self-funded health plan being our third-party administrator who pays our bills, the network we rent from them, and our reinsurance being a large part of that, which is our aggregate and specific stop loss. So I believe being self-funded has paid off for the county this year because we were going to pay those claims one way or another, whether we were fully insured or self-funded. If you're fully insured, you just pay for them the next year on a rather large rate increase. So even though it maybe hasn't been the best year we've ever had due to claims, I think we've put ourselves in as good a position as we could possibly be in.
Questions for Mr. Angel? Thanks, sir.
Hope you all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir. You too. Last but not least, Comptroller's report, Comptroller's story.
Good evening to the chair and all the justices. First report is the statement of operations, expenses by fund and department. As typical, I call your attention to the first 8 rows of the report. You'll see in row 1, column K, we are 92% through the year for as of November 30th. If you follow that down in column K for the next few lines, you'll see that every general category is below 92% for the year, with the general fund being at 82%. The road fund still at 91%, with bills being paid from the summer months. And if you look over in column J, you'll see that for the next 30 days, we have the encumbrances and everything is well below the 100% for, which would be for the full year. You'll notice on page 2, I added the same information that's on page 1. It's got a kind of a lime, avocado green background to it. I found a recurring need for looking at the information alphabetically as to department. So I'm adding that on a monthly basis. So if you have a specific department you're wanting to look at, you can easily find it on page 2, which is an exact reproduction of page 1, which is all the general funds, but it's in alphabetical order. And the totals all match there. I looked over the rest of the report. Everything seems to be in good order. And so I'll take any questions if anyone has something that they're particularly interested in.
Questions for Comptroller?
The next report is the unappropriated reserve balance report. Call your attention to column G, down about line 17, where most of the activity report, activity in the prior month was in the general fund. You'll see over in column N that we received some water leak insurance proceeds that was $74,500 over in column G. And then we appropriated that out to pay those bills. Then we had de-appropriation and dissolve a position where the money was moved around. And then line 28 is American Rescue Plan. You'll see the $4.8 million that was appropriated over in column N for the Emergency Operating Center construction in progress. And then we had a little bit in the road department for replenishing culvert pipe inventory. Other than that, that was the only adjustments for the month. And I'll take any questions if anyone has any.
I think we're good.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Comptroller.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move into our normal new business portion of the agenda. First up is item number 9, an ordinance prohibiting the use of compression release engine brakes in Washington County and for other purposes. Justice Dean, would you like to introduce this, sir?
Thank you, Judge. Yeah, this is third go-around on this. It basically, it's pretty simple, cut and dried. It's building big in the area and residents, and they're starting to complain. They get the engine braking noise. These are vehicles that are not mufflered. You know, I've heard, you know, this is standard, a brake has to be used, all this other. The newer trucks from 2018, they started putting mufflers on them because they are annoying and they aggravate people. I think the bigger issue in safety here is speeding and overweight. In the area I'm talking about, they're not hills even. I mean, mountains, we don't even have mountains in Washington County. These are just no more than little hills that, well, housing going up all around. There's no need for the brake. And if they have to use it, they're moving way too fast or they're way too heavy. These are studies I've looked at online and everywhere else. All I'm looking for is to help the people in my community to not have to listen to this. There are trucks out there that they'll run all the way through town with their brake on. You won't hear it because they fixed the problem. Where I'm at, I'm in a pit area. I have all the pits in this whole Washington County, I think, are in my district. I got a lot of old trucks running there. The older trucks are not muffled. You'll hear people say that there's 3 reasons they'll do it. 1, they're running too fast. 2, they're too heavy. Or 3, they like the sound of it. Well, a lot of people in the area don't like the sound of it. And we don't want to listen to it no more. I've got Fayetteville helping me on one side. I've talked to the state police. They can't ticket for the engine braking because there's no ordinance. But they will ticket for it if I can get this ordinance passed. So I'm asking everybody to please look at the people in the county and what they're putting up with, and not at a handful of trucks that don't need to use this. So I make a motion that we move this on to the 3rd reading and be done with it.
I'll take that up as a motion to pass to the full quorum court.
Yes,
With
sir.
a due pass recommendation by Justice Dean. Justice Secchi, I hear second. I have a second by Justice Secchi. Any further discussion? Justice Dennis?
Yes, Judge, thank you. I do understand the problem, I really do. It just seems like that it should be addressed in a noise ordinance instead of a mechanical. Because I have paid specific attention, and I live in a level area, and I did have one come by, and I thought, well, that's what you're talking about, because he had no reason for it to go off. But to me, he wasn't putting a lot of brakes on. It was just noise. I mean, he was just making noise. And so to me, it's a noise issue, not a brake issue. And so I know the noise occurs, but also all these other trucks were coming by and they were just quiet. I mean, in comparison. And so to me, it's someone not doing their due diligence of having their truck, you know. So to me, it's a noise issue, not a brake issue.
Justice Lemming?
Again, I've talked about this several times, and it is a safety issue, them not being able to use their brakes. And he probably is right. There is a little speed involved, but that's another braking to help the speed. We had a gentleman turn a Lowe's truck over on Tomato Road, which everyone says that there's no hills in northwest Arkansas. This hill is about 2 miles long, and right in the middle of it, there's a curve at about 10 miles an hour. So to say you don't need Jake brakes in Washington County, that's crazy. We do, and they're put on trucks for reasons. The reason that we don't need to do an ordinance is because once you put an ordinance out there, it'll get out of control. It won't just be in your area. It'll be to where it's all Washington County is what this ordinance says. It does say you've changed the limits to parts. And constitutionally, I've looked at the Washington County Constitution, that we've got a green book that's got a lot of stuff in it, and I've looked at the state. I don't think constitutionally we can just pick this road, pick that road, pick this district, pick this district. I don't think that's the way we can do it. I think there's ways to put signs up without creating an ordinance that'll do just as much good as creating an ordinance and putting a sign up. I think if you'll put signs up and ask nicely, I think people will listen. But I think if you do an ordinance and it really gets scattered out all over Washington County, you're going to make lots of folks aggravated. Yeah, you're going to save a few noises, but there's a lot of trucks out there that uses their Jake brakes, like you said, that you can't even hear. But there is a few bad apples, and there is a law against trucks without brakes, because I talked to the state police or the DOT, and I give the number to that law, and any law enforcement in the state of Arkansas can enforce it today and can write a ticket on it today, and it'll stand up in court. There's a law, there's a state law out there. So I say I'll be voting no because I just don't think we need an ordinance. Thank you.
Justice Secchi?
Thank you, Judge. I know that in Article 2, it says the use of compression release engine brakes system is hereby prohibited within Washington County, Arkansas, unless used in emergency situations where the safety of the driver and other motorists may be in jeopardy. So that article there is saying to your counterpoint, Justice Fleming, was it's a safety issue. So that mechanism is in place. Secondly, I do believe Justice Dean did say that the sign is needed for the state to enforce. We need an ordinance in order for them to enforce the noise or the use of this system. So for those and other reasons, I'm voting in favor for it because I know that there are some constituents out there, I should just say neighbors because they're not my constituents, just neighbors, who are trying to put their kids to sleep and they go by and it wakes them up. And they said if it was just once a week, it's not. It is an everyday occurrence and it scares the kids when they're trying to nap. So it is an issue and we need to be mindful of that. So I'm voting in favor of this. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Additional debate or comments on the ordinance from the court? Justice Coger?
Thank you, Judge. Justice Dean, I appreciate your work on this, and I've learned more about truck brakes than I ever knew. And I don't know if this is the answer. I don't know if having an ordinance is the answer, but I understand that it is a problem because I've lived in an area where noise was a problem, and when you can't have peaceful enjoyment in your own home, that's bad. So I'm going to support this now, and if we have to revisit it later, we can always do that. There's nothing wrong with going back and revisiting things. Thank you.
Justice Dean?
Yeah, I'd just like to state that most of your cities in Washington County, they have an ordinance against this, okay? So it is an ordinance. There are bigger hills right here in Fayetteville than I have in my district. I've seen trucks go down these hills. I don't hear the brake. It's not a safety issue. They got a foot brake that they use. That, and as she said, Lisa, that in case of an emergency, yeah, use it. But when you're just out on a normal road, and it's very busy right there now, you've got a little gas station store they're in and out of. You got the fire departments right there, in which I am a member of the fire department, been with them 8 years, and we have a Jake brake on our brand new truck, but you don't hear it, which was neglected to say at one time. So, you know, I know that they can be used. Guys that have them drive all the way through town. You never hear them. You don't even know they're on. I'm not complaining about them people, and these can be zones, okay? If you make it a zone. Instead of Washington County, let's have a zone, you know, no engine braking zone. Let's do that. I mean, I'm willing to get around it any way we can, but I keep getting this deals coming around that I'm just really not pleased with. So I hope that we can get this passed. I really do. Thank you.
Justice Dennis?
I'm asking for a friendly amendment, but I would amend this to be a noise issue. Otherwise, if you want to put in noise instead of the brakes, I would vote for it. So I make that as an amendment, that we make it a noise issue, not a mechanical issue.
I appreciate that, Justice Dennis. We would need to know the exact edits. Okay. All right. Any further comments, debates on item number 9? Any public comments on item number 9? Come right up here to this microphone, sir. If you'll push the button on, I believe it's the very right. There it is. Red means it's on. Just state your name and where you're from, sir.
My name is Peter Melnicki. I live at 13740 West Highway 16, which is right in the middle of the area that is in discussion on 16 from the top of the hill right down to the fire department. And these trucks are just going out. There's so many trucks now that the whole situation is just outrageous. They'll go all night long. I don't know where they're going at nighttime, but they run all night. And my house is an older house, and I have older windows. And when they start rapping down the hill, it shakes all the windows. It wakes the dog up. Then it wakes me up. And it makes for a miserable evening. And when my wife was dying of cancer last year, and when she was finally got to sleep, some truck would go roaring up or down, because they'll go up the hill without mufflers, and they just make a racket. And my poor wife would get woken up, and she wouldn't be able to fall back to sleep for hours. So this issue of just a little bit of noise is highly overrated. And basically, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Additional public comments?
Debbie Dean on Elkhorn Springs in Fayetteville. And I also live right where by all the pits, and that's where this noise comes, and it is daily. It is daily. When we first looked at the area, the one guy that we almost bought from, he said, oh, this will stop, they'll be done, next year it'll all be done. Well, it's not all done. It keeps growing, and the area is growing. And so I understand that you don't want it all of Washington County maybe, but you definitely need to put it so that you can make it in the areas that it's needed. I did a lot of research myself, and this compression brake is something that towns regularly adopt, the noise level of it, and saying that it's not okay. So it's not like this is the first time, and Fayetteville has this. Fayetteville has one. Washington County doesn't have it, and that's where the pits are. They're running in the county, and I don't know why the county wouldn't want to uphold what the city even does already. I don't know, I don't understand when so many people are affected by it. I just hope that it does pass. It would be nice to, we're not asking them not to have a safety feature and use their brake. If they do have a brake, this is a different brake that makes the noise. So in the areas they're coming up, like on our street has not got a hill. Inevitably, they fly up to that stop sign, and you know how they stop? With that compression brake. There's no need for that. All they have to do is, and they come around a curb, seeing that stop sign and floor it to hit that compression brake. I don't know. In my opinion, it needs to be passed, and that's just me. But thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Additional public comments? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 9 with a due pass recommendation to the full quorum court by Justice Dean, a second by Justice Ecke. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ms. Mason, will you please call a roll on that?
Sean Simons. Kyle Lyons. Lisa Ecke. Charles Dean. Chandra Washington. Beth Coker. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rios Stafford. Willie Lemming. Gary Ricker. Butch Pond.
That ordinance will move to the full quorum court. Item number 10, An ordinance amending ordinance 2018-50 to update the sick leave policy in the Washington County Employee Handbook. Director Burchett, would you like to come up here and give us a quick rundown of this ordinance?
I don't drop everything first. Good evening. The amendment to the sick leave policy is just another installment, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, in our course to try and update all the Washington County policies. This particular policy, some of the content changes are taking away the 360-hour cap for employees, for accruals, and also providing employees with the opportunity to, in one more way, be rewarded for longevity, and then also to differentiate between our law enforcement versus civilian employees. So those are some of the highlights of the adjustments in this policy that's presented before you all today.
Questions for Director Burchett? Justice Lyons?
No, I'm sorry, I don't have a question for the director, but basically the review, it's positive for the employees. I mean, a lot of companies don't even offer sick and vacation anymore. It's just vacation, period. So that's a benefit for the county and their employees. I think it's good for the staff and for the county, and I'll make a motion that we pass this on the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons. Do I have a second? Second by Justice Dean. Justice Lemming?
Question, the older employees that's already got time built up, what are we doing for those?
Their time would remain. It would just flow over into their bank. They would get to keep it.
So they do to get to keep it, they ain't gonna lose it.
Correct, yes. That's why we took away the cap.
So, thank you.
Justice Ricker?
This new 112 hours a year or so, is it more or less than what they're receiving now for average work year, not counting overtime?
It's slightly more.
Slightly more.
Yes, if you base it on a regular 8-hour workday.
2,080 hours a year.
Yeah, so divide 112 by 8, and that's how much they would, get per month, I guess, if you want to do it that way. It's slightly more. So right now with our current policy, it's just under 96 hours is what they accrue annually.
Okay.
So we're giving a
it's
little more.
changed to 112 hours from the 96, so a little bit more, and it's being given to them on their anniversary date?
Correct, so their
Does
hire
it
date.
start on their hire date? When they get hired, do they get 112 hours right then, or do they have to work for a year to get that 112 hours?
The amount is on the books, but they're not eligible to use it until after 90 days, which
Right.
that's our current policy anyway. So,
Right.
yeah, it's there for usage after that 90 days.
And there is no cap on what they can build up. But I understand the only way that any of it would be paid out is if the employee dies on the job, some duty-related deal. I guess his estate could be paid up to, what was it, 3 months worth?
3 months of gross salary. That's correct. Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think there's another stipulation that I want to touch on that we're adding to this, and that would deal with the bereavement. Is that true? Would you like to go over that a little bit? I mean, this
Yes.
is another, hopefully, a benefit to the employees.
And you actually just reminded me of another one. So one of the added accommodations in this policy is to allow our employees to utilize their sick leave in the event that they experience a death in their life, family, extended family. This is not replacing our bereavement policy, okay? This is an extension of what we're already doing for them for bereavement. So we've had many employees who have experienced a death in their families, and for an immediate family member, they get 3 days paid already under bereavement, but sometimes they do have to travel. Sometimes, you're sick at heart. If your child dies, 3 days is not enough. I'm sorry, it's just not. So we give our employees this sick time for medical office visits and things like that, but you can also be what I call sick at heart. And so we added that accommodation into the policy to give our employees access to this time for future use, because they haven't been able to use it in the past. Another slight change that we talk about in there is a grandfathering in rule, and that's to make it where our employees are utilizing this time by the quarter hour instead of by like the .01 hour or whatever, which Right now, that's just kind of an accounting, thing to clean that up. But that is another slight change that's presented in the policy before you all.
Additional questions for Director Burchett? Justice Coger?
Judge, and I don't know if we've talked about this, how does this affect the catastrophic leave policy?
It does not affect the catastrophic sick leave policy, other than the fact that when an employee leaves service, other than in a death situation where they've died in the line of duty, other than that, their time would go into the cat leave bank to kind of infuse it with time. But other than that, it does not affect the cat leave policy.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Justice Pond?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify, the 3-day bereavement policy will still be there, and they'll be able to add sick days to this if necessary.
With the approval of their elected official, they will be able to utilize sick leave to cover them for additional time off. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Director Burchett. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Are there any public comments on item number 10? Public comments on item number 10. Seeing none, we'll take it up. I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons, a second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 10 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 11, an ordinance levying the county, municipal, and school district taxes for the year 2023. This is an ordinance that we do every year. This is the passing of our millage. The only note I have here is that this does include a 2/10 rollback that we experienced at the county, and we opted to split that between the general fund and the road fund. That'd be the only difference between this and what we did last year. Justice Ricker?
I make a motion to pass this on to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. I believe I heard second by Justice Lemming. Any discussion or questions on item number 11? Any public comments on item number 11? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 11 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Ricker, a second by Justice Lemming. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 11 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 12, an ordinance anticipating and appropriating additional revenue in the amount of $74,812 in the Drug Court Grant Fund budget for 2024 and other matters pertaining thereto. Judge Beaumont, do you have the background on this you'd like to introduce really quick?
I don't, but if I can make something up if you'd like.
Well, no. I was just going to give you the privilege. Dr. Russell gave me some notes on this. Unfortunately, Dr. Russell couldn't be with us tonight for some unexpected reasons, but this is a drug court grant fund that we get through SAMHSA. And what it does, it's a sub-award from the UAMS, and it supports the treatment and housing for our drug court participants. This is the second year, I believe, we've received this. I believe we received it last year. Justice Lyons?
I make a motion we pass this on the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons. I heard second by Justice Dean. Any further discussion or questions about item number 12? Seeing none, any public comments on item number 12? Come right up for the front here, sir. Good evening. Please sit, state your name and where you're from.
Am I on? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Nick Caffrey. I'm from Fayetteville, and I live in Ms. Hires' district. I just want to speak in favor of this program and the drug court in general. I've had an opportunity to view some of the proceedings there, and I came away extremely impressed with the compassion and the resources that were being offered, and the help, the discussion. It's all very positive, and I just want to say that I think we should continue to support the drug court program. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments on item number 12? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 12 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Lyons, second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 12 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 13. An ordinance anticipating additional revenue in the amount of $117,953 in the Law Enforcement Grant Fund and appropriating said $117,953 from the Law Enforcement Grant Fund to the SCAP FY 2023 budget for 2023. Justice Ricker?
Make a motion to pass this full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Lemming. Any further discussion or questions by the court? Justice Koger?
Thank you very much, Judge. Every time this grant comes up, when someone's arrested in our jail, they're asked to state the country that they were born in, their birth country. For people who were fortunate enough to be born here in the United States of America, that's no big deal. But for the immigrant community who weren't so lucky to be born here, it can be a big deal. It can cause concern. Part of the way that we get this money, part of the conditions of the grant is that we have to submit, the Washington County Detention Center transmits data submitted on such individuals to the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice transmits that to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and Immigration Customs Enforcement, or ICE. My point is, why can't we just let everybody just go through the criminal justice system without having to worry about being deported? Or having their families separated. In the past, when we've had conversations about this grant many times, the Sheriff's Office has explained that the grant is paying the county back for individuals that would be held regardless of the fact that they were identified due to their immigration status. My concern has stemmed from the bias and singling out of individuals due to their status as immigrants when they state that their country of origin was something other than the United States of America. If Sheriff Cantrell or any member of his staff can tell this body with 100% certainty that individuals and families are not being separated or facing deportation because of this program, then I will withdraw my objections. Otherwise, I will vote against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions from the group, from the court? Seeing none, any public comments on item number 13? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 13 to full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Lemming. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 13 will move to the full quorum court. Item number 14, an ordinance amending the prosecuting attorney's budget for 2023 and other matters. I see Prosecutor Durrett back there. Prosecutor, do you want to speak to this, or? Sure. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody. We are requesting an additional $5,000 to get us to the end of the year. What happened is we had an unexpected expenditure this year. We installed security pads down there at our two offices at the old courthouse. It was $9,000 that we hadn't budgeted for. And the reason we have those is our two offices down there are before you pass through security. So technically someone could just walk right in before you get to security and walk in either one of our offices. So we spent the money and we're running a little bit short. So that was $9,000 that we didn't account for in this year's budget because we didn't anticipate making that expenditure. But we went ahead and did it because I felt it was important so that our folks would feel safe down there. So anyway, we're asking for $5,000, which should have us at back to a zero in our budget by the end of the year.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Pond, and I believe I heard second. I had second by Justice Dennis. Apologize about that. Any further discussion or questions? Justice Simons?
Thank you, Chair. Prosecutor, does this affect anything in 2024, and what have you budgeted for 2024?
I mean, this is just an unexpected expenditure for this year. I mean, we could have waited, and I could have put it in the budget for next year, but.
We wouldn't have any funding for unexpected things next year.
Right, and I didn't want to wait. I mean, especially, and we don't know about the incident that happened with the probation officer a while back, and you know, things can happen pretty quick because the way it's security set up. You know, theoretically, someone could just come in there, and I mean, our offices are literally right inside the door that the public goes in, and so we didn't have a little keypad before, so now we do.
Awesome, thank you.
Further discussion or questions for the prosecutor? Justice Ecke?
Just real quick, you said to keep your budget from going zero, so you don't have any more funds in any other line item that could be transferred to pay for this?
I've got a little bit over $4,000 left when you total up all the, when you reconcile the budget. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, you know, the appropriate word to use. I'm thinking about reconciling your bank statement, your checkbook. When you go through and move things around, we've got about $5,000. We're about $4,000.
Short
Yeah.
or over?
We've got 4,000. We're 4,000. I don't know. 5,000 will get us there. Yeah, we're about between 4,000 and 5,000 in the red right now, and so I am.
Okay.
I don't want to end the year. I don't think you can end the year on a negative balance. So we've got between 4,000 and 5,000, and so 5,000 will. We're going to put it in line, and we can shift it around, and then that can give us extra couple $100 if we have anything unexpected, because everything else has been has already been encumbered for any expenditures for the rest of the year.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, so that's what they tell me, is that, and that's why I asked for that instead of 9,000, because I don't know that we'll need 9,000, because you know, we need.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
I speak your language. I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, well, God bless you, because
Just
not many
wanted
people
to-
do. I mean, I don't do it. I don't speak it really well myself either. So,
No, but I just was to do due diligence to the budget.
Yes,
The question had to be asked, and I appreciate your explanation.
Sure,
Behind
this-
that and why it was just 5,000. And I'm sure Director Story would inform you if there was more funds in your budget left over
right.
or not.
Yeah, so we're a little over 4,000 in the red right now. So this will give us get us back to zero with a little bit of cushion in case something unexpected comes up.
I appreciate you saying that. And we do need them, and I agree with you. So, thank you.
Further discussion? Any public comments on item number 14? Seeing none, we'll take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 14 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Pond, a second by Justice Dennis. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 14 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 15, an ordinance recognizing and appropriating additional revenue in the amount of $368,610.67 to the Buildings and Grounds budget for 2023. We continue to work through the insurance recovery process for both our flooding damage on the first floor and also our roofing damage. You don't get all that at one time. You have to play the game. This is just more of that money coming in. We're accepting this money and appropriating it to the Buildings and Grounds so that we can make repairs. Justice Ricker?
Make a motion, pass full quorum court with due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Ricker, a second by Justice Lyons. Is there any further discussion or questions about item number 15? Justice Rios Stafford?
Thank you, Judge. I just wanted to note that the amount that's in the title of the resolution on the agenda doesn't match the actual amount that's in the item itself. In the agenda, it has $322,784.96.
Counselor?
So just an explanation for you for future reference. When we get ready to start putting together ordinances and agendas, it's a pretty long, drawn-out, multi-day process. And so in order to get ahead of the game, oftentimes the core and port coordinator will start taking those titles over while we're doing that. And oftentimes there are changes that are then submitted to us on the ordinances. An amount like this one was wrong. And so there was a discussion after she had just taken the title over onto the agenda, and it just didn't get picked up. But the ordinance that's in the packet, any ordinance that's in the packet is actually what you're passing. The title on the agenda is irrelevant
Okay.
As far as when you pass it.
Great, I just wanted to double check on that discrepancy. Thank you.
No issues. Any further questions or comments on this item? Any public comments on item number 15? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 15 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Ricker, a second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 15 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 16, an ordinance amending the HR budget for 2023. Director Burchett's here if you have further questions, but what this is the HR budget needs additional funds to accommodate and pay for background checks and drug screenings for new hire applicants. We've seen a lot of hiring activity for 2023 that went above the budgeted amount, and then also keep in mind right now the Election Commission is tooling up for the next year's election, and so we're going to see increased costs for that type of background check. No. Nope. Justice Ecky's asking if this has been handled in the 2024 budget. This is for 2023, I believe. Any further discussion on questions or motions? I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Ecky, a second by Justice Dean. Any further questions or discussions on item number 16? Oh, Justice Rios Stafford?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Just one question on whether it applies to 2024. The first whereas in the ordinance says it's for positions not originally included in the 2023 budget and for new positions in the 2024 budget.
Yes, what we're meaning there is a lot of the new positions that were approved from the 2024 budget, a lot of those departments are going through that hiring process right now in anticipation of those people starting in the first of the year. That's what that essentially
Okay,
means.
great. All right, thank you.
No problem. Any further comments or discussion? Any public comments on item number 16? Seeing none, we'll take up the question. I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Ecky, a second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 16 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 17, an ordinance recognizing and appropriating additional revenue in the amount of $15,650 in the Planning Department budget for 2023. As some of you are aware, we had an equipment auction a couple months ago to where we got rid of some surplus equipment. The Planning Department had some equipment in that, and this is them accepting the sales funds for that and appropriating it to their budget. Are there any motions or questions? I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Ecky, a second by Justice Lyons. Any further discussion or questions? Justice Koger?
Thank you, Judge. In the future, how do we advertise these auctions? Because, I mean, I watched the county calendar. I didn't see it on the county calendar, this or in the next ordinance either. And I'm just curious, I mean, not that I'd want to come, I bet, I'd be interested in maybe seeing what was for sale, How do we do that?
Counselor, would you like to?
So the way the law works on this, and there were some changes within the last few years on how we do this, but on these auctions, we're able to use, in order because we're selling big machinery and you're not going to get a lot of buy-in here locally, and so we advertise on national sites. And so these auction companies come in and they actually advertise these on some sites that are much more far-reaching than what we have here. And so that's often part of the contract with the auctioneer, that they will be the ones that advertise these for us too. So we can get people from any state in the country that may see a road grader that we're selling, if that's what it is, and can purchase it and then come pick it up and transport it. Whereas if we were just doing it locally, we may not have anybody interested in a large purchase like that.
would it hurt, what would hurt to post it on the county calendar? Can we do both?
Yeah, I mean, there wouldn't be anything against it.
Okay.
So you just asked how we advertise, and I'm just letting you know.
Sometimes when we do that, and then we forget to put it on the calendar, people sue us, though. So it's like damned if you do and damned if you don't. Justice Lemming?
My question is that we're on this, like Brian said, the big equipment. In your disposal package, you just comes with a bunch of numbers. We don't really know what that is. I mean, is there any way that we can explain what that is?
That is,
In your disposal package, you always read to us the judge report, and he says your disposal is in the packet. That's all we get. But all that ever is a bunch of numbers. We don't know if it's an ink pen, we don't know if it's a truck tar, we don't know if it's a bicycle, we don't know what it is.
oh, okay. We can incorporate that
I
detail.
asked the last gentleman that was in the buildings and grounds to work on that and get me a list, and he said he'd get right on that and do it, but anyway, it's never happened. But I'd like to see us get a little better list so what we know really what, you know, just like you said, you sold assets, okay, was that computers, was that cars?
Sure. Yeah, I think we can work on incorporating that. That's not.
I
Yeah.
think that'd be very beneficial.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Further discussion on item number 17? Any public comments on item number 17? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 17 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Secchi, a second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 17 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 18, an ordinance amending the IT budget for 2024 and other matters pertaining thereto. As you know, we've got a new IT director this year. Director Baird's been going through his department, coming up with some ideas. This is a restructuring of job titles that he would like to do for his departments. This is not financial. This is to change the job titles in the budget to update his staffing and give him what he feels like are the appropriate titles. There is no money affected by this. We have to update the budget for the titles. I just want to make that very clear. Justice Secchi?
Thank you, Judge. I'd like to make a motion that we pass this on to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Ecke. I heard second by Justice Dean. Are there any further comments or questions on item number 18? Seeing none, are there any public comments on item number 18? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 18 to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation by Justice Ecke, a second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 18 will move to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation. Item number 19, an ordinance amending the Circuit Court 3 budget for 2024 and other matters pertaining thereto. Did I see Judge Zimmerman in here? Ah, there she is. Judge Zimmerman, would you like to introduce this briefly for us?
You kind of gave me a lead-in, Judge Deakins. This has to do with titles, not money. And so we're asking in the 2024 budget to replace the position entitled Juvenile Probation Officer Multilingual Position with the position titled Juvenile Probation Officer. It's rather challenging to find someone to fill that position with the job title multilingual. So, of course, if we can find someone that is multilingual, that's great, but it just kind of impedes the ability to hire someone to put into that position. So no money changes, just title changes.
Any questions for Judge Zimmerman? Any motions? I have a motion to pass the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation by Justice Ecke, second by Justice Lyons. Any further discussion or questions? Thank you, Judge Zimmerman. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any public comments on item number 19? We're going to have a Judge Zimmerman, I hate to displace you, but we're going to need your
Go
chair.
right ahead. Have a seat.
My name's David Freeman. I live here in Fayetteville, off of MLK by Walker Park. I'm just concerned that the renaming of this position releases any sort of accountability that we have as a county to make sure that the kids who are going through this program have people who speak their language and can support them. I don't know if there's opportunity for more discussion to clarify whether the renaming of this position will still ensure that there's somebody in this program that can be there to support youth who don't speak English fluently. But with the language involved in navigating this, I just know that it's very scary for an adult, much less a child or a youth who's going through a program, to be surrounded by all this technicality and not have any idea what's actually being discussed on their behalf. I see the name of this position as it currently is, creating accountability for our county to actually have somebody who can be there and speak the language that the youth going through this program need. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Additional public comments?
My name is Jonathan Nunez. I live at 1753 East Scion Road here in Fayetteville. Representation matters, and whenever you're going through already a really scary process of being on probation as a juvenile, and your parents don't speak any English, I think it's really important to have that representation be accounted for in our judicial process, especially when it comes to juveniles and protecting our kids in our community. We should do that across the board, and we shouldn't. Just because something is difficult doesn't make it not worthwhile, right? Because it's difficult to fill a position. Maybe we just need to try harder to fill that position and find somebody who is multilingual and appropriate for that position. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 19 to the full quorum court.
I'm a public, so can I talk as a citizen?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I think those are great points, and I want to point out that in the 25 years that I've been a juvenile judge, that I've made sure that our probation officers reflect our community. The position that's vacated is by Ms. Milne. She speaks 6 languages. And we have 5 probation officers that speak Spanish. Ms. Milne speaks 6 languages. And whenever we have a court proceeding, I always have an AOC certified interpreter in whatever language, whether it's Polish, Spanish, whatever. And not only do I arraign the juvenile and say what is the charge, but I also have the police report read in the language of the parent and the juvenile so that everyone in that courtroom knows what's going on. So I totally agree with both of you, and I applaud you making those comments because it is so important. And if you come to my court, you're going to see that that happens every day, every case. So thank you.
Thank you. With that, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 19 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by Justice Zecchi, second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 19 will move to the full quorum court. Item number 20, an ordinance anticipating and appropriating the additional revenue in the amount of $593,764.55 in the Drug Court Grant Fund for 2024. Judge Beaumont, would you like to introduce this? And I will also make a notation that your observation from the prior ordinance stands for this ordinance also, that the amounts are different on the agenda than they are in the title. Judge Beaumont?
So this is a grant that we are getting from the opioid settlement funds that is being given to us by the Attorney General. It is a one-time grant for this year, this next year. He has told us that there may be able to get some more funds after this year. I know this is for positions. Don't freak out. I'm not going to come to the county to ask y'all to continue these positions. I've already in talks with the state legislature to make sure that these positions do get continued. But basically what this is going to do for us is allow us to have 2 more probation officers in Washington County, and allow us a administrative assistant and a counselor in Madison County, and then another counselor in Washington County. Additionally, our officers in Washington County spend the majority of their time, as you can imagine, overseeing drug tests and watching people pee.
And so this is going to allow our probation officers to do a lot more, home visits, actually talking to our participants, looking at, you know, seeing what's going on in their lives and being able to supervise them and hold them accountable instead of watching people pee, because it will allow for drug testing. Our inpatient treatment funds had been cut, so this is also going to allow for inpatient treatment funds to be able to send people to residential treatment.
Justice Ricker?
Make a motion to pass the full quorum court with due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation by Justice Ricker. I heard second by Justice Simons. Are there any further questions or comments for Judge Beaumont? Discussion of the item?
And I just want to say, I love that guy back there, but I promise I have, like, never talked to him before that said good things about me earlier. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Judge Beaumont. Any public comments on item number 20? Seeing none, we're going to